Madam President of the European Commission, sehr geehrte Ursula, magnifico Rettore, members of Bocconi faculty and staff, dear students, dear alumni, distinguished guests, it is a great privilege for Bocconi University to have as our guest of honor today and keynote speaker, the President of the European Commission, Her Excellency Dr. Ursula von der Leyen. As soon as the European Council appointed her in July 2019, I had the pleasure of having a few exchanges of views with the President-designate von der Leyen, even before her confirmation hearing at the European Parliament. I invited her to Bocconi. She accepted in principle. I added that it would be a special honor for us should her future speech at Bocconi be the first delivered at a university by the new Commission President. And if I am well informed, your speech today, Madam President, is indeed your first university speech, at least in continental Europe. Here at Bocconi, we consider Europe as an integral part of our DNA. Though proud of our Italian roots, we feel deeply European. We share and endorse the European values and consider the European dimension as a key driver for global competitiveness, which in higher education means mainly ability to attract the best talent, students, faculty, staff. We thus welcome and encourage the Commission's effort in promoting much deeper cooperation between higher education institutions across the EU. For instance, through the European Universities Initiative, of which Bocconi is already part as a founding member of Civica, the European University of the Social Sciences. The rector, in his speech, will expand further on this in a while, highlighting Bocconi's achievements in the last 12 months. I would like to congratulate Professor Verona, confirmed in June for his third biennial mandate as Bocconi rector. Under his guidance, and with the always constructive cooperation of Managing Director Riccardo Taranto, the Bocconi community has faced the challenges posed by the pandemic with determination and resilience. Despite uncertainty, in the last year and a half, we have also worked hard on our strategic planning process. I'm happy to announce that the University Board last Monday approved the university's Vision 2030 and the Strategic Plan 2021-2025. It is quite an ambitious plan. It is consistent with our accomplishments of the last 20 years, and at the same time, it's very innovative. The implementation will require the passionate engagement of all the members of our community and our stakeholders. I wish to thank wholeheartedly our Vice President, Andrea Sironi, for having wisely conducted the strategic planning process with the continuous support of the Executive Committee, the Rector, and the Managing Director. But I also would like to express my special gratitude to all the members of the working groups who have devoted time and energy to the development of the strategic plan on top of their everyday tireless work to carry on during the pandemic. Finally, I wish to thank Istituto Javotte Bocconi in the person of its president, Professor Angelo Provasoli, for its continuous support to our university, in the name of the founders and particularly of the first woman president of Bocconi, Javotte Bocconi. Female leadership, dear Ursula, is not new to Bocconi, and women are now leading European institutions. Ursula von der Leyen took office on 1st December last year. In February this year, an unprecedented disruption occurred. COVID-19, in addition to its tragic human toll, was about to break down the European construction, to deepen the fracture between the EU and its citizens, their minds, their hearts. Today, Signora Presidente, you can tell Bocconi students, you can tell all European students, next generations of Europeans, that you saved their Europe, that you and the EU institutions saved Europe for them. Because you care about them, you are transforming disruption in construction. You are changing the way in which political choices are made in the EU and by reflection in member states. Narrow-mindedness as regards time, short-termism, or space, nationalism, are simply no longer an option. Horizons must be widened, decisions must look at the long term and need multilateral coordination. These principles inspire the governance model of the EU. They might seem abstract, but it is by revamping them under your leadership that the EU has been able to respond to this unprecedented health and economic crisis in a way that has defied the skeptics. And your relentless activity to ensure that the values on which the European Union is built are actually implemented concretely more and more sees already in the next few days a number of challenges. Just if I imagine, Madam President, your agenda of the next few days, and I'm pleased to say that with us at Bocconi, virtually today, you are completing, well, it will be next Monday, but allow me a certain approximation. You are completing your first year in office. And you can never pause to reflect on the successes. You continuously have to look at new mounting challenges. And just looking at the next few days, I imagine that you have high on your concerns, a couple of them. For example, how to overcome the opposition of 2 member states to the conditionality that all the others consider key, linking the disbursement of EU funds to the respect of the rule of law. Or also, how to regulate. I understand you will present to the College of Commissioners comprehensive proposals to this effect on the 9th of December, how to regulate as regards citizens' rights, privacy, non-interference with democratic processes, and taxation, those huge, how can I say, components of the world economy without a territory, new superpowers without a territory, that are the digital platforms, so that humankind can draw all the enormous benefits that they can bring while preventing them from a navigation out of existing rules that would have them erode into the basic frame of our civil and economic coexistence. And only you, only the European institutions, for the respect that they have been gaining throughout the world, have the strength, enjoy the credibility for attempting this extremely difficult challenge, which will be beneficial for the world as a whole. Your speech, I am sure, will take us through your vision and describe where we are in the implementation of your vision. For the EU to work well, there must be harmony, although respecting the different roles between the source of democratic legitimacy, the European Parliament, the engine of integration, the Commission, and the acceptance of integration by member states, the Council. During the Annus Horribilis 2020, we have seen a high degree of harmony at a time of very difficult choices, particularly in the second semester, with Germany at the rotating presidency of the Council. The leadership provided by two like-minded women, Ursula von der Leyen and Angela Merkel, has played a decisive role. I wish to pay tribute to both of them for their outstanding vision and determination. Dear Bocconi students, the speech by President von der Leyen, which will be delivered shortly, is essentially addressed to you. But along the same line, I have a surprise for you. Last night, I received a message essentially for you from the current President of the Council of the EU and Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany, Angela Merkel. I will now read the Chancellor message. Mr. President, Rector, students, and members of the University, ladies and gentlemen, the most exciting and perhaps most important part of starting a new academic year is meeting people face to face. This year is an exceptional one, however. Contact with others is, for the most part, restricted to the virtual sphere. The start of the new academic year will be overshadowed by the COVID-19 pandemic. But as disconcerting as the effects of this crisis may be, they can do nothing to dampen the thirst for knowledge that you have displayed by choosing the internationally renowned Bocconi University. Society, Europe, and future. That is the highly apt theme of this year's opening ceremony. It highlights the extent to which our future depends on cohesion and solidarity in our societies and across Europe in these trying times. Sooner or later, many of you will play a part in shaping this future in positions of great responsibility. Today, you are laying the foundations for this as you enter a new phase of your life. Studying at Bocconi University is something you can be very proud of. And I believe that in spite of all the restrictions triggered by the pandemics, you can be confident that traditional university life, with all the proximity that is so important to us as people, will return in due course. I hope your studies get off to the very best start and wish you every success. And of course, stay healthy. Angela Merkel. Many, many thanks to the Chancellor for honoring Bocconi and our students through her kind message. And warm thanks to you, Madam President of the European Commission, dear Ursula, for the invaluable gift of your presence with us today, and all our wishes of success in your historic mission for Europe. Thank you very much.
Madam President von der Leyen, European authorities, Italian authorities, dear university rectors and deans, dear Bocconi University board members, dear alumni, students, faculty, staff members, ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome you all to this first virtual opening of an academic year. Let me also join President Monti in welcoming and wholeheartedly thanking President von der Leyen for being with us on this important day for our community. And let me particularly thank her for the leadership with which she is governing Europe in one of the most difficult times ever. For sure, the most difficult for younger generations like our students who have never experienced anything like this in their lifetime. Thank you, Madam President, for your leadership and for the role model you represent. We do look forward to hearing your words of wisdom in the keynote after this state of the university. I don't think it is an exaggeration to maintain that the shock produced by COVID-19 has increased everyone's awareness of how fragile human beings and more generally societies are. In spite of significant scientific, technological, and economic progress throughout the 20th century and the start of this one, in the space of a few weeks, the whole world was brought to a halt due to the spread of a virus about which, even a year after its appearance, we still don't know enough to block its diffusion. Unlike other international crises or recessions, very few experts had imagined a scenario of this kind to be probable. A scenario that in terms of national and regional economic damage and number of deaths is objectively comparable to a world war. Interestingly, global conflicts are the only other times that in-presence teaching has stopped at university in most of the world. Retrospectively, therefore, it should be no surprise that the political reaction has been difficult to coordinate. At the outset, COVID-19 acted like a tsunami, and the reaction times, especially in Western democracies, which fortunately are maintained by complex institutional mechanisms, could not be as quick and efficient as such an aggressive enemy. A clever enemy, one that knew how to sow divisions among citizens, causing debate that juxtaposed the value of political choices with the need for science-based practical decisions, that counterposed the rhetoric of individual rights with state powers, that place health and the economy in a competitive stance instead of a complementary one. These battles are harder to resolve in a context of global cooperation that has been weakened in the last 5 years by nationalist politicians. Also contributing to the confusion is a new media context dominated by social networks, which sometimes act as detonators of complexity, adding the fuel of an infodemic to a pandemic already in flames. Allow me also to note in this academic context how disconcerting it has been to observe the spectacle of certain scientists who have fallen into the media trap of overstating what science can legitimately affirm on the subject. While it seems unfair to criticize the initial work of many governments, as time goes by, it is becoming increasingly difficult to hide the disappointment in most countries due to inadequate planning for the advent of the so-called second wave of the pandemic. In Italy, in spite of all good intentions and the planning carried out, including, for instance, the Colau plan, implementation has lacked the scope to suitably equip essential sectors such as healthcare, schools, and public transport. While we wait for the approved vaccines, it is also important to think about the future and plan it carefully now. On this matter, it must be said that if a period of expansion follows every economic recession, A shock of this size will presumably lead to an expansion of similar proportions. This is not much because the shock affects supply, but most of all because it also impacts demand and consumptions, which have been severely limited by the various restrictions that are the hallmark of this period. The post-war period of the 20th century is confirmation of this phenomenon. The Great Conflict made way for a period of flourishing growth during which the Europe we know today was shaped and consolidated, and Italy rebuilt itself to unleash the entrepreneurship that has made us a major player internationally. Likewise, after the exogenous shock created by the pandemic, there will very probably be a significant period of expansion and prosperity. The reinstatement of international mobility, strengthened by the new digital infrastructure that COVID-19 has forced us to master, will allow growth that will be faster than what took place following other recent crises. All this will be possible, however, under one condition, that what we are learning in these months will be transformed into tangible change aimed at introducing innovations. Schumpeter's theory of innovation reminds us of this. It was developed during the Second Industrial Revolution when electricity rebuilt the economy in the 20th century industries. It states that times of crisis are the periods that favor the most radical innovations for those entrepreneurs and nations that know how to make the most of them. Only by innovating and searching for new economic and social opportunities along the path of today's fourth industrial revolution will it be possible to realize the full value of the natural post-pandemic expansion. More than anyone else, the European Union has understood the urgency of this matter. In addition to stimulating a constructive, collaborative spirit among the states during the pandemic, it has also literally acted as a lighthouse in the storm created by coronavirus, with the Next Generation EU Fund. The Recovery Fund has been formed along the two pillars of innovation that the fourth industrial revolution has dictated: digital transformation and environmental transformation, built on the cornerstone of human capital. And if one may argue that resource allocation of the Recovery Fund is entrusted to political consent, as it should be, it is still vital to recall that at this historical moment of excess liquidity, big investors are in search of institutions and companies that have potential to grow. And over the next several months, growth can only come through innovation deriving from the digital era's exploitation of big and small data, and from research into solutions to the environmental and social challenges that pursuit of sustainability has brought to light. Now, more than ever in the past, it is necessary to invest in human capital, digital transformation, and sustainability. I like to look at the effort put forth by Bocconi University in 2020 in terms of these three lines of action. It is an effort that will be further consolidated in what President Monti has just mentioned, the Bocconi Vision 2030, and in the Strategic Plan 2025, just approved by our university board. Let me get started with the first pillar. The strength of a university resides in its human capital. More specifically, it resides both on the quality of the faculty's teaching and scientific research, and on the skills applied to ensure that the coming generations can enter an increasingly complex and competitive labor market. A photograph of the relative strength of a university is provided by the main international rankings that measure the parameters with which the academic activities of research, teaching, and service are carried out. In 2020, our position as fourth university in Europe and 16th in the world in social sciences in the QS rankings was confirmed, then corroborated by the US News ranking with 5th place in Europe and 18th in the world. In addition, we succeeded in gaining a place on the podium in the rankings of the best business schools in Europe for the first time, with the Bocconi School of Management taking 3rd place in the Financial Times rankings. These results depend upon various parameters, including among the others our teaching faculty's scientific production, the three main indicators of which have constantly grown in recent years, as you can see in this chart. The quality of Bocconi research is also demonstrated by the university's ability to win important international grants. There have been 37 European Research Council grants hosted here since 2007, a figure that puts us in 3rd place in the panel most directly related to us, that of economics, finance, and management. Today, there are 20 active grants hosted at Bocconi. There were 5 in 2010. In this respect, allow me to remind Madam President von der Leyen about the importance of continuing to support funding of the ERC, considering the paucity of resources in many EU countries dedicated to research. Bocconi has increased its ability to consistently win international and national grants from public sources. The table shows the number of active funded projects in the 3 calendar years referred to. In particular, to date in 2020, new calls for proposal acquired total over 9 million euros. However, innovation in human capital skills also requires new perspectives and the continuous entry into the faculty of new professors who are its essential lifeblood. With these new entries and their distribution by gender, age, and nationality, we have achieved the objectives contained in the Strategic Plan 2020. More specifically, during the current academic year, Bocconi has further increased its faculty by hiring 22 new professors, who you can see in this chart. Let me only mention today, for all of them, the 4 full professors: Ron Bart, professor of sociology; Marta Cartabia, professor of constitutional law; Sonia Hopper, professor of management; and Giuseppe Savare, professor of mathematics. Including these 22 new entries, our faculty now comprises 376 professors, 20% of whom are international and over 31% women. A significant increase has been achieved in the number of female full professors, which has doubled in the last 5 years, although we have to do better. Our female colleagues have been the protagonists of important acknowledgement this year in the Relative Scientific Association, which they will soon chair, and I'd like to mention them. Professor Botticini will soon chair the European Economic Association, Professor Carletti, the European Finance Association, Professor Principe, the European Accounting Association, Professor Torbiza, the Italian Association of Healthcare Economics. The quality of human capital and the underlying rankings results can also be found in other indicators that concern the selection of new students and their value in the job market. The selection of new Bocconi students has overall stabilized at a ratio of 1 to 5, and in the last 5 years, our attractiveness for international students has grown by 155%. The consolidation of our PhD program's reputation has also attracted an increasing number of candidates. The future of Bocconi's educational path is that it favors international exposure during the study curriculum. Proof of these are the 282 partner universities in all continents and our presence as a founder and dynamic member of 10 university networks, including the one mentioned by President Monti before, Civica, a new model of collaboration between European universities founded as part of the European Universities Project by the European Commission. Let me say hello to the Chancellor and rectors and to all the deans of international affairs of Civica universities that I know are connected to this event. As confirmation of the effectiveness of the route taken, employment rates among our graduates now stands at 95.7%, including an all-time record for placement outside Italy, 31.1% this year. Now let me move to the second pillar. The 4th industrial revolution, combined with the advent of COVID-19, requires structures and capacity for innovation focused on digital transformation. It is more essential than ever before to develop and disseminate the skills that will allow future generations to integrate big data with citizenry and the labor market of the future. There are 3 areas that we have worked on constantly in 2020. First, programs dedicated to the understanding and dissemination of digital technology. We have launched the 5th study program, the Bachelor in Mathematics and Computing Sciences for Artificial Intelligence, that runs alongside the other 4 programs focused on digital technology, which you can see in this chart. To disseminate entrepreneurship required for the 4th industrial revolution, our accelerator, Bocconi for Innovation, selected 12 startups for the acceleration program and 35 for the pre-acceleration program, out of 439 candidates in the first 2 calls. Indication of the auspicious beginning of B4I, which was launched last year, comes from the data on the growth of the first 5 accelerated startups, which completed their path in full lockdown from March to July. These are enterprises that in just a few months have hired new employees and whose turnover has increased by up to a factor of 3 on an annual basis. These are data that will certainly encourage new entrepreneurs to take part in the 3rd call that is currently open and will end on January 7th. And let me thank all the partner university and the service provider that support B4I. From this academic year, Bocconi for Innovation and SDA Bocconi School of Management will also launch a new important initiative called ICE, Innovation and Corporate Entrepreneurship Center. The new center aims to support the development of innovations in public and private companies, providing them with personalized research and training paths in corporate entrepreneurship. But the second area of the digital transformation pillar is the teaching model. More than anything else, 2020 has been dictated to developing remote learning, which is the quintessence of digital in higher education. The weekend of February 22nd will long remain in the memory of the entire Bocconi community and of the Milan and Lombardy universities in general. Let me greet my friends, rectors of universities in Milan and Lombardy, which are all attending this ceremony virtually. During that long weekend, we took all together the difficult decision to interrupt in-person teaching as of the following Monday to combat the spread of the virus a few days ahead of the national lockdown announced by the government on March 8th. The reaction of our community was fantastic and immediate. On Monday 24th, we were the first university to hold virtual lessons with the MBA students from SDA Bocconi School of Management, and within a week, all the other 4 schools followed suit. I want to note that this reaction was possible because the coronavirus did not catch us unprepared, as we could make use of a digital structure and culture developed over the years, thanks also to the educational center built. Even prior to the epidemic, in fact, 30% of lessons at the university involved digital activities. And in the last 2 years, about 40% of our professors had taken part in specific training for this very purpose. Along these lines, in 2019, SDA Bocconi had launched its portfolio of courses on demand, referred to by the press as the Netflix of learning, and has recently finalized 2 new partnerships for on-demand distribution with leading platforms, Emeritus and Get Smarter. What we did during lockdown has been a training ground for organizing educational activities for this academic year. During the first term, we therefore made sure that our students could attend at least half of their educational program in person and safely, using the rooms at 50% capacity. The teaching model adopted has provided for 3 different types of lessons, as indicated in this chart. And if university teaching has undergone a transformation, the executive market of digital courses has seen a sharp rise. Being able to count on a new library of on-demand courses that were fully redesigned in 2020, SDA Bocconi School of Management has seen a 100% growth in enrollments in this market segment compared to 2019. The innovations developed and introduced these times of crisis will contribute to the new teaching model that Bocconi is designing for its future, and it's part of the strategic plan. The new model will combine in-person teaching with digital, creating a new enhanced way of learning and teaching, where the professors will increasingly be the coach and will guide students through the content and media, with great attention placed on interaction and exchange of experiences. The third area of digital transformation has to do with services. With movement curbed for most of the year and the mass introduction of working from home, 3 more essential dimensions of our students' training path have also been revolutionized: the international experience, the entry into the world of work, and events in the Bocconi world. The introduction of virtual exchanges for students from partner university has meant that we could at least host almost 300 students during the current semester. Although not able to travel to Milan, the students have been experiencing Bocconi academic life, sharing lessons, group work, and assignments with our students, benefiting from all the support services. Thanks to its presence in the GNAM network founded by Yale University, Bocconi has also introduced the new small network online courses format. Like teaching, our career service has also had to adapt their rules dictated by the coronavirus. The various formats have been redesigned to be held online. And so, since the end of February, 180 recruiting and career advice initiatives have been organized online, involving almost 700 employers and 16,000 plus students and graduates, as you can see from this chart. Lastly, our events have also been transformed. These are a vital element for the exchange of ideas among researchers from around the world who are involved in the seminars organized by our departments. The events are a tool for scientific divulgation and for the involvement of all Bocconi stakeholders. Overall, the Bocconi ecosystem has organized more than 700 webinars and online events. I would like to mention one in particular for all. With the help of the Econometric Society, the most important economic association, instead of looking at the writing on the wall and canceling the World Conference planned for August 2020 on our new campus, we held a conference with more than 4,000 people from 80 nations, all connected remotely. Interestingly, the last Econometric Society conference registered 1,600 participants. This shows the incredible outreach that digital platforms provide. Let me now move to the third and last pillar, sustainability. Our founder, Ferdinando Bocconi, wanted to base Bocconi University studies on respect for the harmony between school and life, deducing the importance of culture and science as the foundations of a nation's economic and moral growth. His and our values, unchanged since 1902, are of independence, meritocracy, integrity, respect, open-mindedness, pluralism, and social responsibility. They have taken on now a new importance in light of the goals of the Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development of the United Nations and the ideas provided by the Next Generation EU Fund. And even in this case, the year of COVID-19 has also been a powerful accelerator in terms of inclusion, economic, and environmental sustainability. Let me start with inclusion. Professor Catherine de Vries has taken up the position of Dean of Diversity and Inclusion. The goal of her appointment, which she has accepted in light of her experience as chair of the European Political Science Association Diversity Committee, is to promote diversity and inclusion as fundamental principles of an open community through the adoption of specific policies and activities. With regard to the promotion of inclusion and merit, Bocconi has been increasing its commitment to the extent that last year we supported 3,700 students, which means for us 1 in 4 enrolled students. In the last 5 years, this commitment to providing economic assistance to our students has increased by approximately 20%, going from 25 million euro in 2014 to almost 36 million euro by 2020. Since the start of the pandemic, we have worked to make the campus a safe place with an investment of 3 million euro. Since the return to the classroom at the end of August, this chart shows in numbers what has been done thanks to the crisis team that was set up last January. As far as economic sustainability is concerned, we reached an important milestone at the end of October, completion of the fundraising campaign within our reach, which raised 120 million. This goal was reached thanks to the 3,350 donors who desire to invest in knowledge and the future along us. This year, thanks to the contribution from the Fondazione Romeo ed Enrico Invernizzi, we launched the COVID Crisis Lab. The lab, directed by an epidemiologist, Professor Melegaro, is characterized by the interdisciplinary nature of its approach. Its projects have already produced several papers, some of which have been published in leading journals such as Science, PNAS, Lancet, and PLOS ONE. Thanks once again to the support of the Fondazione Invernizzi, we will inaugurate the European Studies Institute, headed by a legal expert in European law, Professor Spaventa, which will allow us to address European subjects with an interdisciplinary approach which is crucial for the future, combining law with economics, politics, and artificial intelligence. AXA Research Fund and AXA Italia have chosen to work with us and furnish support for another essential research topic. The new AXA Lab in Gender Equality, directed by an expert in diversity economics, Professor Profeta, aims to investigate the role of public policies in promoting gender equality, empowerment, and female leadership. Finally, thanks to the support of Heinz, Intesa San Paolo, Milano Sesto, and Prelios, we have established the new research lab in sustainable urban regeneration. It will be led by an expert of urban mobility, Professor Croci, and will investigate the new ways of creating private and social value made possible by long-term sustainable industrial development in urban planning. These new laboratories are in addition to what we have already achieved in recent years thanks to our donors, and this chart shows the long-term shares that contributed to our campaign in the last years. Donors have not only supported research and chairs, though. They have also supported student scholarship. A thank you this year goes to Fondazione Enel, City Foundation, and Fondazione Dompe for their support of our students. For the same reason, I would like to thank some of our generous alumni who this year have chosen to support the new generations of Bocconi students, demonstrating a great desire to give back. For all, Diego and Monica Piacentini and Niccolò Colusi. Let me also take the occasion to welcome Silvia Candiani, Country General Manager at Microsoft Italia, who was recently nominated President of the Bocconi alumni community. Silvia, to which we go all our congratulations, will take over the torch from Riccardo Monti, Managing Director and Senior Partner of the Boston Consulting Group, who we would like to thank for his competence, passion, and commitment throughout his 6 years of leadership of the Bocconi alumni community, during which the outreach and engagement of our alumni has increased substantially. But in the years of Greta Thunberg's Fridays for Future and the European Green Deal, we also did our best to pay attention to a third dimension of sustainability, environmental sustainability. We have promoted research, teaching, and tangible actions that are summarized in our sustainability report launched this year. We specifically take pride in the prestigious standing confirmed year after year of our Master in Sustainability and Energy Management, #1 in the world once again. In addition to the wealth of initiatives already in place, this year we also have the just launched ESG Lab Excellence in Sustainability and Governance, promoted by SDA Bocconi School of Management with important partners such as Fondazione Sodalitas, Falk Renewables, and Enel Foundation. Lastly, this chart represents some of the actions taken on campus, including reduction in CO2 emissions and waste production, and in consumption of water, paper, and energy, plus the extension of green areas thanks to our new campus inaugurated last year. Let me now move to some acknowledgements and conclusions. These results were made possible through the efforts of many people. Let me start with our students and alumni. The determination and seriousness of our students has been unique. They proved to be especially cooperative and constructive during this crazy year. Relatedly, the support and closeness of our alumni around the world has been particularly precious to all of us. Let me mention one of them, Andrea Enria. Andrea is the chair of the European Central Bank Supervisory Board, who was voted 2020 Alumnus of the Year. Let me also remark that success in such a complicated year is specifically the product of the commitment of the entire faculty and staff, who went beyond their comfort zones of in-person teaching and work. It's hard to express the gratitude of all Bocconi governance to each single member of our faculty and staff for what they have done in this unusually complex year. Let me personally thank Managing Director Riccardo Taranto. We do my share every single day, the orchestration of strategic and operating activities at Bocconi. But allow me also to acknowledge the various bodies that contribute to the governance and the strategic directions of Bocconi University. Let me thank the Academic Council and all Bocconi managers. Let me particularly acknowledge the Executive Committee and the University Board chaired by President Monti. This year, the committee and the board have approved the aforementioned Vision 2030 and the Strategic Plan 2025, fruit of the contributions ably coordinated by Professor Sironi. The International Advisory Council, led by Professor Giavazzi, the Fundraising Campaign Board, led by Mr. Cucchiani, and the Istituto Iavot Bocconi, led by Professor Provasoli. Finally, a remembrance and a last farewell to a special Bocconi alumnus, Alberto Alesina, who passed away this year before his time. Alberto was a professor of Harvard University and for years the Tommaso Padoa-Schioppa visiting professor at Bocconi University. Alberto contributed through his studies to broadening the horizons of the field of economics. Allow me to conclude by noting that COVID-19 pandemic is a dramatic social experiment that has highlighted many challenges regarding the sustainability of capitalism. Humanity must overcome these challenges in the post-pandemic society. As Professor Rebecca Henderson of Harvard University so effectively highlighted in her recent book, we no longer have an excuse for not rethinking some of the main mechanisms behind capitalism, even though we must not forget it has been the principal source of prosperity in human history. In addition to unmasking critical areas, the pandemic has also revealed new paths that the new digital transformation will allow us to travel. It is a good thing that Europe has managed to catalyze forces and energy to provide a unique stimulus to the Union's nations. It is now up to the individual countries to make the most of the opportunity. In the world of innovation, people know that it is in difficult times that we need the courage to innovate. We need to do it now, as our payoff states now more than ever. I now declare open the academic year 2020-2021, which is the 119th year in Bocconi University's life.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, President Monti, caro Mario. Thank you all for this opportunity. Magnifico Rettore, Bocconi students and faculty, and distinguished guests. It is an honor to open the academic year at Bocconi University, a cathedral, as we could just hear, of economic thought for Italy, but also for the whole of Europe. I've learned, and I could listen right away, that this university owes much of its prestige indeed to the work of a bright woman, Lady Javotte Bocconi. She led this institution for almost 30 years, and she always thought of Bocconi as a European university. Long before the Erasmus program, she invested in cultural exchanges with universities all across Europe. She believed that students could learn a lot if they looked beyond Italy's borders, but also that Italy had much to contribute to the European cultural debate. And this is still in Bocconi's DNA. Indeed, you are the founding member of Civica, the European Network of Universities for Social Sciences. You are home to students from over 100 nationalities. Bocconi continues to be a bridge across the Alps. It has brought ideas from the rest of Europe into Italy's economic debate. And it has brought Italy at the core of European policy making. And this is what I would like to talk about today, Italy's place in Europe. I would like to talk about what Europe is doing for Italy and how Italy can contribute to Europe's recovery. But first, allow me a few words about the beautiful and wounded city that hosts Bocconi, the city of Milan. Milan is a European capital. And no more than 1 year ago, Milan was teeming with life, a healthy economy, a rising skyline, music and culture at every corner. Milan was an attraction for not just for tourists, but also for entrepreneurs, for innovators, of course, students and scholars from all over Italy and Europe. Then the virus brought silence and pain to the streets of Milan. And the second wave is hitting Italy and the whole of Europe harder than anyone expected. Yet Italians are showing incredible resilience in the face of this tragedy. Milano, the city of art and fashion, is today the city of solidarity. It's a city where thousands of ordinary people have mobilized to help their neighbors in need. People like Riccardo and his friends, a group of high school students who have started cooking free meals for the doctors and nurses working night and day with COVID patients. Countless associations are distributing food to those who cannot afford it. Volunteers are delivering medicines to the lonely elderly people. And I know that some of these everyday heroes are among you today. I was told that 500 university students, and many of them from Bocconi, have given their time to tutor younger kids who are struggling with online classes. So you are showing once again the truth of that old song. You're showing again that Milan le on gran Milan. Since the early days of the crisis, I have believed that Europe should live up to these examples of solidarity coming from the European people. All European countries have been hit by the pandemic. But some countries have been hit harder and sooner. And while some member states had the strength to intervene in support of their national economies, others simply didn't have the financial reserves to do so. And this pandemic, this crisis, represents a symmetric shock with indeed asymmetric consequences across the Union. It is my deep conviction that Europe must intervene in these circumstances. All Europeans should enjoy the same opportunities and the same protections in the face of a crisis like this. It should not matter whether you are from the north or the south, the east or the west. This is the European promise. We are together in good and bad luck. We pull each other through. And this is what it means to be a union, a community of countries and peoples. This also concerns the functioning of our single market. When a company goes bankrupt in one member state, another business on the other side of the union loses a customer or a supplier. A struggling economy in one part of Europe weakens a strong economy in another part of Europe. If our economies diverge too much, the single market suffers, and this means trouble for families and companies all across and in all corners of Europe. So there is a strong economic rationale for European solidarity. Europe can only recover together. We can only succeed together. And this is the idea of Europe that you, Mario, have always promoted. And it is also the idea of Europe I believe in. A social market economy on a continental scale. The European economy is built on free enterprise. The free movement of people and goods has given unprecedented prosperity to the people of Europe. But the single market can only function if the playing field is level and if we all have the same opportunities. So competition is good, but competition must be fair. And for this, inequalities must be tackled proactively. This is what makes Europe's economy unique. If you, for example, compare it to the US or to China, these are the founding principles of our union. A foundation that we can all share in spite of our different national and political backgrounds. Adenauer called it soziale Marktwirtschaft. De Gasperi preferred the expression economia mista di mercato. But the substance does not change. It is that idea that an economy has to be free and fair to be efficient and vice versa. That we should all play by the same rules and we should all be given a fair shot. A social market economy allows everyone to converge upwards. The social market economy is part of who we are as Europeans. It is our unique European model. And it is how we can move out of this crisis together. This is why, since the early days of the crisis, I have worked for Europe to come to Italy's rescue. We coordinated member states so that they could buy protective equipment together. Teams of European doctors came to the hardest hit cities in Lombardy, and Italian patients were welcomed and treated in hospitals, for example, in Germany and Austria. Already in March, I proposed a European initiative to support Cassa Integrazione. We know that a lot of healthy companies in Italy and elsewhere are incredibly struggling just because of the pandemic and the lockdowns. And it is those companies that need a lifeline out of the crisis, because we will need them. They need help to survive and to keep their workers inside the company, even if right now they don't have as much work and orders as they usually do. So that's why we created SURE. SURE is a European program to support short-time work across Europe. And the logic and the message behind it is as follows. Do not lay off your employee in this crisis, but keep them in the workplace, keep the knowledge and the skills in your company. SURE will subsidize part of the salary. And when the economy picks up again, your company can take orders immediately because you have the expertise. Italy is the country that will receive most support from SURE. The European Commission is now successfully raising money on financial markets, taking advantage of our very strong credit rating. And this money will then go to the member states to support national programs such as Cassa Integrazione. In other words, after decades of ideological debates, this is European solidarity in action. SURE was the first step. Then came Next Generation EU, our recovery plan. 750 billion euros in investment on top of the long-term EU budget. And again, Italy will receive the largest share to recover and to support reforms. The European family rose up to help all its members in greatest need. And today I can say, l'Europa sei desta. With Next Generation EU, for the first time, the European Commission is raising funds on the financial markets that will be channeled to member states as loans and grants. This is a huge decision and one that we do not take lightly. We are spending resources now that we will have to pay back in 10 years or more. In other words, we are borrowing money from future generations. So these resources should be invested for future generations. That's why we call it Next Generation EU. Not just to repair our economy, but to reshape it for the future and to preserve our planet, to mitigate risks the next generation will face. Next Generation EU will bring an unprecedented wave of public investment for the European economy, but also to the Italian economy. So European resources for our recovery and our reforms. But Next Generation EU will only succeed if Italy plays ball. And this is the moment for Italy to take its future into its hands and contribute to Europe's collective recovery. To make the most out of Next Generation EU, Italy will need two things: willingness to reform and a strategic approach to investment. First, reforms are the foundation for recovery, because only with the right reforms, Italy can ensure that Next Generation EU delivers on its citizens' expectation. I think, for example, reforms to speed up the justice system and public administration. This is essential to attract investment and give confidence to the business sector. But even more importantly, Italy's young people need a fair shot to find a good and rewarding job. Too many young graduates are choosing to leave the country because they cannot find the job they deserve. Many other young people don't have the skills that the job market requires from them. I know that a city like Milan has managed to revert the brain drain, at least to some extent. So some bright minds who had left are coming back because you have built an ecosystem that rewards talent and attracts investment. And this is the way. Italy can be a place where every young person has the right skills and finds the right job. This is the kind of reforms that Italy needs to kick off a strong recovery. Second, investment must be strategic. The resources from Next Generation EU shouldn't just restart the economy. With them, we must also make our economies evolve, make them greener, more digital, more resilient to shocks. But this cannot be achieved by Brussels or from Brussels. We need each and every European country to identify strategic projects to shape the economy of tomorrow. Next Generation EU will only succeed if it finds fertile ground in our member states, in Italy, and all across Europe. And I'm confident that this will happen. Italy has come out of countless crises. You were a devastated country after World War II, but you rose to becoming a G7 economy. In Milan, after the economic crisis of 2008, you seized the opportunity of the World Expo to launch a new phase of economic and cultural growth for the city. So this is a country of innovators. Throughout the centuries, you have always been capable of rethinking your traditions, your artisanship, your industry, even your cuisine. So thanks to this, Italy has today the second industrial base in Europe. And around the world, made in Italy means beauty and top quality. With Next Generation EU, Italy can reinvent itself once again. Next Generation EU is a chance for Italy to decide what your future should look like. And this is what's at stake as your government prepares Italy's recovery and resilience plan. It is up to Italy to propose how to invest these new resources. But let me give you an idea of the kind of transformation that Next Generation EU can bring about. Next Generation EU should finance a green recovery. After the financial crisis of 2008, global CO2 emissions reached a new high because the recovery was fueled with carbon-heavy investment. The world simply cannot afford to repeat the same mistake. We cannot keep polluting the air we breathe and destroying our beautiful nature. Europe is determined to do things differently. This time, we have asked all member states to invest at least 37% of the Recovery and Resilience Fund to deliver on our European Green Deal. And Italy could use its share of Next Generation EU to switch to new energy sources, such as clean hydrogen, to invest in electric public transport, or to support organic farming and industries that use recycled materials. We have put some ideas and guidelines on the table, but the choice belongs to Italy. For instance, we have proposed to launch a renovation wave to make our buildings more energy efficient. At Bocconi, you know something about sustainable buildings. I know that your new urban campus was designed as a green complex, built with innovative materials and powered by the sun. And this is a great model. In Europe, buildings account for 40% of our emissions. And very often, they waste most of the energy that they consume. So this issue is particularly sensitive in a country of antique buildings such as Italy. During the lockdown, the Italian construction sector got an almost complete standstill. Next Generation EU is an opportunity to get people at work again, when the sanitary situation will allow for it. And it is an opportunity for homeowners to make their properties more comfortable and more energy efficient. Now it's up to Italy to draw practical projects to make your own homes, offices, and universities more sustainable. It is now time to bring the renovation wave to Italy's, into your cities and your homes. Let me add that Next Generation EU and the European Green Deal are not just about the economy and the environment. That's important, but not only. They can also be a cultural project for Europe. Think again about Bocconi's urban campus, or the new buildings that shape the skyline of the city. They mix sustainability with a unique design. They make the necessary beautiful too. And I find this fascinating. And for this reason, I would like to create a cooperative space for architects, artists, scientists, and engineers, a place where they can bring together ecology and aesthetics, climate action and culture, form and function. A new European Bauhaus. And I can't wait to see what incredible ideas will come from Italy, your contribution to a European movement. Next Generation EU should also finance a digital recovery. The pandemic has shown how dependent we are on digital technologies. High-speed internet has become vital to follow your classes or to run any kind of businesses. And the digital revolution will continue well beyond the pandemic. Big data are now entering even the most traditional economic sectors. Italian industries are using data to monitor the consumption of their machines and reduce their energy bills. Data from satellites have become essential for precision farming. A new generation of Italian artisans are using robots and 3D printing to create shoes that perfectly fit your feet or unique furniture for your home. So Italian entrepreneurs understand perfectly well that history and innovation can go hand in hand. Next Generation EU is an opportunity for everyone to embrace this digital transformation. 20% of Next Generation EU will finance the digital transition. It can bring broadband internet to the most remote alpine villages or Mediterranean islands. It can help small businesses learn how to use artificial intelligence in their daily work. It can create safe and neutral data spaces where companies and universities can share their data. In Milan's region, you have already a digital innovation hub, a place where academia meets business, startups meet big industries, and all entrepreneurs can learn how to benefit from Industry 4.0. Models like this we want to invest in. But we need Italians to imagine their physical hubs, create them and make them grow. It is your opportunity. Next Generation EU can start a digital decade for Europe, but whether it will be a digital decade for Italy, this will depend entirely on Italians, on your ingenuity, on your ability to turn on the ideas and to make them reality. The pandemic has made us rethink the way our union works. Every member state will be in charge of its own national recovery plan, but the priorities I just outlined come from Europe. And the destination is the same for all 27, because we all share the goal of a green, a digital, and a resilient recovery. One of Europe's founding fathers, Jean Monnet, used to say that Europe would be forged in crisis. Next Generation EU brings us one step closer to the union that our founders dreamt of. A union of solidarity and responsibility. A union that is stronger than the sum of its parts. A union that every European can be proud of. Italy is home of many of our union's founders. The European Union moved on, and it did its first steps in Italy with the Treaties of Rome in 1957. Back then, my father had the honor to be part of the German delegation that negotiated the treaties. He was only 27 years old. And on that day of March, he was there at Rome's Campidoglio, difficult Italian, Rome's Campidoglio, as the leaders of the 6 founding members made history. It was a generation of visionary leaders. They brought together countries and people that had been killing each other until just a few years earlier. And after them, other generations of visionary leaders created the union that we know. The generation that built the single market, that generation that unified our continent after the fall of the Berlin Wall. Every one of these generations was faced with a similar choice. On the one hand, the status quo, the old disagreements, the path that leads to nowhere. And on the other hand, a more ambitious path, a path where all Europeans advance together towards the same destination. And this is the choice that we are facing again today. Our decisions will determine whether we can repair our economy, but also prepare it for the future. But building the future will depend on you, on the next generation of Europeans. You are studying to be the leaders of tomorrow, in business, in politics, in academia, and in society. The future will be what you make of it. Europe will be what you want it to be. So best luck for this new academic year. It will be harder than many other years, but Europe needs you more than ever. Your talent, your ideas, your engagement. Thank you and long live Europe. Viva l'Europa.
Thank you. Thank you so much, dear President. You reminded us that Jean Monnet used to say that Europe would be forged in crisis. Allow me to complete the quote. Europe will be forged in crisis and will be the sum of the solutions adopted for future crises. Destiny brought you to lead Europe at a moment of unprecedented crisis. You are working successfully to provide a solution to this crisis, which will be part of an important part of the historic construction of Europe. We are very grateful to you for this. It has been a great honor to listen to you. All the best success for your activity, for all of us, for Europe, and do come to Bocconi really when it will be possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mario. I have gotten from you a wonderful present, which I will try to show to the camera so that you can, merci beaucoup for that. Here it is. And it will get a special place in my office. And I hope that one day, first of all, I can come personally to Bocconi University to see all what I've been talking about. It's so tempting to discover not only the history, but also the achievements of this university. And this plate in my office will remind me that there is a travel to Bocconi University in future. Thank you very much.
This will be a great privilege for Bocconi, and allow me to facilitate the reading of the little text on the plate. To Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission, with the deep gratitude of many next generations of Europeans and of Bocconi University. Milan, Brussels, 28 November 2020. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Grazie, grazie.